Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, KK Conishiro. Over the years, we've introduced to you several FUSD student-led programs committed to recycling, reducing waste, and protecting the environment. Well, the Science and Eco Club at American High School has taken the effort a step further with a new lunchtime program inviting students to donate food items to fellow students and to the community. Here to talk about their work is the club advisor, Julio Navarrete, and American High School students Catherine Tarver and Kim Tun, and of course our favorite co-host, Dr. Jim Morris. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here. Now, before we get started, how did this all start? I mean, you went from recycling, reducing waste, encouraging students to participate in this. So how did the food come into play?
Okay, Kay, thank you so much for having us and giving us this opportunity to share about the program. And you're right, we have a very strong recycling program on campus. More than 200 students participate in the program.
Wow.
It is 100% student run and led. Once a week, they collect and sort recycling materials. And recycling for most people is second nature. We know that we separate our plastics and our paper and our metals, but the third piece of the puzzle is food waste. And we noticed at our school that there was a lot of food that was being discarded. So students came together to talk about what we can do to solve this problem.
Now, was this the same group of students who were helping with the recycling? And okay, so it's the same group, okay.
Yeah, so Catherine and Kim and other students, we decided to brainstorm how can we solve this problem at American High School. And the first step was to call a meeting, bring people together to brainstorm. We decided to invite our assistant principal, Mr. Ravenshu, who supervises the cafeteria and has seen the enormous amount of food that is being wasted, Mateo, our kitchen manager, Brenda, our child nutrition services director at the district, with support from our AP environmental science teacher, our culinary arts teacher, and a public agency in Alameda County called Stop Waste. They work to reduce waste throughout the county. And so they had the idea of implementing a food share table. We discussed what this would look like at American and whether it would be feasible and how we could do it in a way that is sustainable and within the law.
Right.
And so they gave us a step-by-step guide for how to do so. We then brought it back to the students and started the process. In early December, we set out a table with signs that Stop Waste has provided us.
Is it in the cafeteria or, okay.
In the cafeteria, and we were very surprised by how quickly students adopted the food share table without us doing any education or
Really?
anything further than just setting a table and signs. When we went for lunch that day, there was so much food already on the table, and students were coming to get food from the beginning. So it's been very successful.
So are your fellow students buying like an extra lunch and putting it on the table, or are they just taking half of what they purchased and then putting it on the table, or whatever they brought from home? How does this work?
So generally in the cafeteria, students come there to purchase a certain lunch, and that's generally what they tend to eat. According to the laws, if I'm not mistaken, you're required to get 3 food items from the cafeteria, but some students don't want to eat all 3 of them.
Right.
So directly at the end of the cafeteria line, the students go in through the cafeteria, and at the very end, we have our table. So students can drop off whatever pears or carrots or whatever they know they're not going to eat right there. Then they can go and eat lunch. And at the end of lunch, if they still have food they didn't open and didn't eat, they can, when they go to drop off their waste, their trash and recycling, we have a couple tables behind our waste stations where they can drop off the extra food. So.
Okay, this is great. Now, and what do you do with that extra food?
So that was the
$1 million
once we had the table approved and implemented, and like, okay, we're doing this pilot, we ended up with so much food, so much more than we expected. So we started brainstorming, what do we do with it?
It's
the cafeteria wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
And students were using the food share table, but not enough because we still had a lot. So in the beginning, we were giving it to our teachers, to our faculty to take home to their families. But then after more conversation with our kitchen staff and with Brenda at the district, the cafeteria was approved to take the food back.
Okay.
Now this is food that has been uneaten, unopened, and hasn't been compromised. So they can take it back. It is allowed under the law. They can clean it and reserve it.
Right.
So this is great. It closes the circle. There are, however, some items that the cafeteria will not take back.
Such as?
Prepackaged salads,
Okay.
or fruits that are in containers that can be easily opened. And so those are the food items that now we are donating. We have a partnership with our local food bank, Tri-City
Nice.
Volunteers.
Nice.
They're very, very close to our campus. Our first delivery was at the end of December, and this is the time when a lot of people donate food, so they were very grateful. There was a lot of people there, and we've been doing it now twice a week. We have parents from our PTSA who help to drive food to the food
Oh,
bank.
nice.
Sometimes some of our senior students who drive
Yeah.
will take the food. Myself or other teachers also deliver food. And it's always a good experience. It's so rewarding that all of this food ended up in the landfill.
Right.
Now is nourishing people in our community.
As it
and
should.
they're so,
Yeah.
so grateful for that.
Now, for the students who are in need of food, is there kind of a stigma when they pick up something from your food table? Does anyone tease them? How are you able to help them?
There's actually no stigma surrounding this
Nice.
because I think that it's at this age where teenagers just see free food and they just grab it. There's like,
Yeah.
Teenagers are hungry.
yeah, we just had a sandwich before we got here. There's nothing bad about wanting food. So most students would just see the food, would grab it and go. They would. It's actually encouraged by their friends.
Okay.
Sometimes they forgot their lunch,
Yeah.
or if they overslept and were not able to pack a lunch.
Okay. So that's great. And so these students who need food don't have to sign anything. They can just go and freely take whatever they want. This is
And I
great.
think, KK, it's a great model what they're doing. American is the first high school to put it in place. Some of our other schools have done this. And it's a perennial concern we hear from parents, from students about, the amount of food that goes into the trash can. Sometimes the portions are just too big, particularly for elementary school students. And it really bothers people to see all this food going to the trash and knowing there's hunger, there's hungry kids, there's hungry adults. This is a real issue in our community and beyond. And so American is the first high school that's really taken the leadership in this. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to organize it and get it going, and it's not just Mr. Navarrete now. They have a whole team who are taking food over there, which is good.
Yes.
Because it's not easy to do, but it's the right thing to do. How, as students, what encouraged you to say, hey, this is a brilliant idea, we're going to make it happen?
I don't know. I think we just realized that a lot of food was being wasted and not a lot of people knew what to do with it. And we just decided that, maybe it's a good thing if we were able to give back to the community instead.
Yeah, and I think the other important thing that they said is they reached out for help. They brought in Stop Waste. They
Yes.
brought in the district's child nutrition services and said, we're going to make sure we do this
Correctly.
the right way.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of rules about the federal meal program
Right.
that you don't want to violate, but they really did it the right way. And I think that's why it's such a shining example.
And speaking of being a shining example, are other schools in our district coming to you asking for advice? Are they trying to research how you did it so they can adopt it on their own campuses, or how's this working out?
We would love to have schools come and ask us how this is working. This is a new program. We just started in December, so and our district has approved now food share tables district-wide,
Oh,
right,
nice.
at all the
Okay.
all the sites.
Really exciting.
So, and we have resources. We are eager to share our learnings and our process with other schools. Stop Waste also has given us resources, a guide step by step for how to
Nice.
do this.
Nice.
So if there's schools that are interested in implementing this food share program at their sites, which is a simple thing it's as simple as setting up a table in a
Right.
in a bin, and then all the other pieces fall into place. It's so rewarding in so many different ways to be able to keep this food from going into the landfill and affecting our environment, to be able to nourish people, our students, to be able to educate our community and our students about food waste. It's so important.
Now, do you two get to leave class a few minutes early to set up the table or get things going, or how does this work? Or do you just wait for the bell and run?
Well, you don't really need to do anything. Is the thing.
Okay.
After we set it up the first day, it's just a table with a couple of clear plastic bins on it,
Oh,
and
nice.
students have figured
Okay.
out how it works. So I usually, when I show up, it's usually 5 or 7 minutes into lunch. There's lots of food on the food share table, and we keep an eye on it, but it's kind of self-sustaining unto itself as long as we make sure that food's getting put where it's supposed to be.
Right. So
Yeah,
this is a
and-
program that any campus can adopt then?
Oh,
Okay.
It does take work, though, particularly with younger students, to really train them, number one, and secondly, to really find that community partnership, because our policy does allow the food to be donated to any nonprofit group that will take it, but you have to take it.
Right.
You have to, there's work involved, and it really takes people who are committed and have the right heart to say, this is worth doing. And it really, I think, makes us all feel better knowing all this food that formerly was being thrown in the trash
Right.
is now nourishing people in the community.
Now, is American the only campus that also has the waste reduction and recycling program, or do other campuses have that as well, that they can easily incorporate this?
Most of the schools have some procedure for separating
Okay.
trash and recycling, but Americans is a little more sophisticated and a little more advanced than just about anybody. You should brag a little bit
Yes,
about what
please.
you're doing.
I am glad to brag about our recycling program. I'm extremely proud of our recycling program. The way it works is it's completely student-run and self-sustaining. Every Thursday during read period, all of our students, at the beginning of the school year, we sign students up. We have a huge turnout, 200, 300 people sign up. It's
Wow.
It's mind-blowing. I was very impressed and delighted when we first filled out our spreadsheet. The students come into the rotunda, which is the center of the school. One of our leaders gets on a table and says which team is going to be working that day. We've got an A team and a B team, and they switch off collecting the recycling from all the different classrooms. And I do mean all the classrooms in the
Wow.
school. Yeah, the teachers put out the bins and we come
Nice,
and grab it.
okay.
And crushing and sorting the bottles and cans. We send the bottles
Actually,
and cans.
that's the fun part, huh?
That's what I think. That is what I've thought for years, but I don't know. I loved Sword. We send those bottles and cans to the recycling center to afford to keep our program running.
Nice, okay.
The entire process takes maybe 20 minutes. People are split up by wings. They've got tags that tell them which wing and which team they're on.
Okay.
If there are people out there who want to know more about our recycling program,
Yeah.
please contact us. We are happy to talk to them. We give seminars at the
Nice.
Stop Waste's yearly environmental summit, which is, I'd say, a big push behind, at least for me, this year's composting program that we started, because Stop Waste put a lot of focus on that at the last couple meetings, and that was really inspiring. But yeah, please contact us.
Yeah, and compost is, again, that missing piece, right? That third stream that we need to implement. We've had a big compost bin at our school that our cafeteria has been using for their food waste, but it wasn't implemented school-wide. So this year we've implemented compost bins for students to use in our cafeteria and now in the rotunda. And our goal is to have this implemented school-wide, because when we send food into a landfill and it decomposes, it creates methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas that is about 25% more potent
Right.
than carbon dioxide,
Right.
which is terrible for the environment. We think I'm going to drive less or I'm going to drive an electric car, but if you're still throwing your food away, that's even worse.
Yes.
So, so teaching our students and our community about how to separate our waste, how to keep that food from the landfill, and how to prevent that food from being wasted in the first place That's what we're trying to do.
So if someone is watching, they want to help and participate, who should they call?
They can contact me.
We also have a
or-
club email,
Perfect.
AHS Science CO Club
Okay.
at gmail.com. That's Science Eco Club, but there's only one E.
Okay.
Oh.
2 S's, 1 E.
Okay.
AHS Science Eco Club.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you guys can answer and help them out.
Absolutely, we would be delighted to, trust me.
So each of
Yeah.
you has probably an interesting journey. I know Catherine's, but tell me, what was it that caused you to become an environmental activist, to say, I'm going to do really good things? What was the inspiration?
For me, it was through Catherine. Really, she's my inspiration because I met her in 8th grade, and then from then we became really good friends. And she was able to show me that there were problems in the environment that are just bigger than just global warming, and I was able to see that. So.
And talk about your journey.
Well, I've kind of always been an environmentalist because when I was a toddler, my first sentence was asking my parents to take me to the farm. So Ardenwood Farm has been a huge part of my life, my entire life. I volunteered there for a while. And I got to America, my parents composted, and I was in the biology honors class, and one of our assignments was to go and monitor the compost bins we had back then. And it drove me crazy that people were putting things in the wrong bins. Drove me absolutely mad. So that was a definite factor into where I've come from. How about you?
So I teach Spanish, and I think usually advisors of environmental clubs and at other schools are science teachers, right? Or for myself, I grew up in Mexico. I come from a very poor background, so from an early age, I learned by experiencing about not having enough food, about relying on the world around you, your fruit trees or your rainwater to sustain yourself.
Right.
I think my upbringing has made me value my environment a lot. But when we moved to the United States, my family, we could afford so many things that we couldn't in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize at the time that our lifestyle wasn't really in line with my values
Right.
of caring for the environment. So as I've grown older, I've shifted my habits to be more in line. I've become vegetarian, and I've inspired my family to eat less meat.
Nice.
I just think about my students and their future and their children's future, and knowing how dire the situation is, how
Absolutely.
serious it is, that we need to change things around. We need to all do our part.
Right.
We need to all contribute, right? The change happens through grassroots, through people making it happen, like we see with this program at American.
Yeah.
Students demanding something better, right? This is what I'm passionate about, because in the end,
We
if
can
you don't have
tell.
a planet, then
3 inspirational
know it.
stories.
This
That's
is
pretty
great.
awesome.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. You don't need it, but congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
am so
Thank you.
proud of your program, and I hope it takes off in the whole district. Okay, no pressure, but good
Thank
job.
thank
From
you.
everyone here at Community Conversations, we appreciate you watching. Thank you. We'll see you next time.